Okay, so why don't we get started? Today I'm going to talk to you about um, why your lawn has a significant um, effect on the environment. Okay, now taking care of your own lawn can be a very responsible thing to do. Um, it will prevent uh, excess nitrogen, uh, phosphorus, and manganese from entering into the water system because of the lawn care that's being provided. Now, doing it yourself can help manage how much escapes into the environment. So with that said, we'll get into it here. So the first thing is, what provokes someone to obtain lawn service in the first place? Well, typically, myself, for instance, I moved into a house. I have an HOA, and it's not particularly the type of HOA that will leave a letter on your door if your lawn's getting out of hand. But some of the neighbors, on the other hand, can be very particular about what they want as far as maintenance to be done to your lawn. Because sometimes the weeds you have can move into their lawn, and they may be the type of person who spend money every month on their lawn service, and it can make people mad. So that's one form of pressure. And another is a type of social pressure, because a well-kept lawn in the 1950s and 60s and 70s, for instance, was something that was looked highly upon. It showed discipline, cleanliness, and that you were willing to live in a way that was aesthetically pleasing to everyone else around you. Conformity, if you will. But not a lot was taken into consideration when it came into environmentally friendly habits. So nowadays, we know there are ways to take care of your lawn without rendering service from a company. So we could start by choosing what you want for your lawn. And there are a couple different grasses that you can choose which will help lower your footprint on the environment. Some are very water reliant, some aren't that resistant to fungus and things like chinch bugs, like St. Augustine grass, for instance. So Bahia is a good one to start with. It's not particularly dependent on a whole lot of water like St. Augustine would be. It doesn't require a lot of fertilizers. It can thrive in a sandy soil, well-draining soil, and it doesn't take a whole lot of attention to keep it alive. Alright, so that's a pretty good choice. Now, another one is one I'm particularly fond of because it has the tendency to knock out the weeds that are in the area, and it can be invasive, but it does a really good job of keeping your lawn as one single type of grass. So Bermuda. Again, it doesn't take a lot of irrigation to keep it going. So in the hot summers of Florida, it'll do okay without excessive water. Not excessive, but a lot of water. It doesn't really take a whole lot of fertilizer to keep it alive. I mean, you can fertilize it, but it's not going to take the amount that, say, St. Augustine would take, or even Floritan, which is another version of St. Augustine, but it will knock out the weeds around it, and you won't have to use any abrasive pesticides or fertilizers to keep it going. Winter will knock it down a little bit, but it'll come back. So that's another good choice. And it's not very expensive to buy the seeds either. You might not even have to tear out what you have for a lawn at this moment because it's so strong. It will take the entire lawn. Okay, so another tip I can give you to keep you from calling on a lawn company is fungus prevention. Okay, so how does fungus come about? Well, it can come about a couple ways. One can be excessive watering, which we don't want to do anyways since we're trying to be environmentally friendly. And another way is cutting your grass too short. Now, when you do this, you're going to enable fungus to come through. When it rains the next time, you will burn your lawn if you cut it too short, and you're only supposed to cut the top third of the blade. Okay. Now, when people are cutting it too short, I'll show you where they're cutting it. They are cutting it all the way down on the bottom third. Now you gotta think of it like the hair on your head. If you cut your hair too short, the sun's gonna get to your scalp and you're gonna get a sunburn. The same thing with your lawn. Okay, so now that we know how to prevent fungus a little bit, we can get into your mowing habits, which again will help. And one habit to have that's particularly useful is knowing when and where to mow. Now you want to mow typically when the blades of your grass, again I'm going to pick on St. Augustine here, are getting to approximately 5 to 6 inches in height. And after a hard rain, or if you've been irrigating too much like you shouldn't be doing, you will have what they call brown patch fungus or gray leaf spot. Now if you see this patch, stop. Because if you take your mower through that patch, you will track it through the rest of your lawn. Now lawn companies are able to help this problem with antifungal treatments on the grass and extra fertilizer, but remember what we're trying to do is do it ourselves so that we do not have to turn to these topical treatments and sprays from lawn companies, okay? Because we're trying to keep that stuff from going into our water systems and our water cycle. Okay, so so the next step is pros and cons of lawn companies. Now, you know, a couple pros right off the bat is you're going to get results. And usually we call those chem lawns for people that use services, which is fine, but remember again, we're trying to eliminate the things that they put on our lawn. We're trying to do things a more natural way. So why not? Well, first off, for me, it's expensive. I don't know about you guys, but some people with a nice big hardy lawn have to pay about $150 a month for service, for fertilizer and herbicide for weeds. Now, second reason is that they're unpredictable. A lot of people have issues with the timing when they come out, and you know, for what you're paying, you know, well, we don't even have to get into that. It just goes without saying. It should be when you need it, not when they can do it. But again, the only thing we can do is try to do things ourselves. And the reason we're going to do it ourselves is because they're only trained to do what they do, which is lay down the application, which is okay. But they're not trained to think about the outcome of all these treatments, and it's our responsibility to understand what happens after all those treatments. And whether we like it or not, all that nitrogen, all that manganese, all that phosphorus, it's going to make its way back into our rivers, our oceans, and it's going to result in, you know, a lot of highly saturated water with nutrients. So we're trying to prevent that. Now, doing it yourself is just the way to go. So now that you have tools in your box, thought-wise, all you have to do is make sure you have your equipment so that you don't have to call anyone to do it for you. Alright, you've been given a little education, reasons to do it yourself. Okay. And again, another big reason to do it yourself is it's environmentally friendly. That way you can take matters into your own hands and be your own supervisor. It's kind of hard to supervise a guy that's trying to do his job and make a living. You know, you can't really yell at the guy for laying down too much fertilizer. So, finally, the biggest reason of all, for some people, is saving money. And you will. And hey, how can you beat that? It's a 2-for-1.